Lila ducked under a table, clutching a frying pan like her life depended on it. She had no idea what was happening. One second she was flipping pancakes at her aunt's food stall and the next, wolves. Real wolves. With red eyes. Huge ones. Welcome back to Shadow Park channel where you listen to audiobook werewolf romance stories. Thanks to my returnee subscribers, and if you're new here, remember to subscribe, like, comment and share for more stories like this. Title says, The Alpha's Unhealed Heart. Run, someone yelled. But Lila wasn't built for running. Her knees knocked as she looked out and saw a little boy crying in the middle of the chaos. He couldn't have been more than 5. He was frozen, staring at the beasts circling him. Her heart slammed. Before she could think, she bolted. Hey, over here, she screamed, waving her pan like a weapon. The wolves turned. Yeah, come on, you overgrown puppies. The nearest one lunged. Lila swung with all her might. The pan hit its snout with a loud clang. It yelped and stumbled back. She grabbed the boy and ran, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Then everything went silent. A low growl echoed through the air, deep and furious. Lila froze. From the smoke, a huge black wolf emerged, bigger than any of the others. Its fur shimmered under the broken carnival lights and its eyes burned gold. Everything in her screamed to run, but she couldn't move. The wolf stopped, looking right at her. Then it shifted. Before her stood a man. Naked, bloody, and terrifyingly beautiful. His chest rose and fell as his golden eyes locked on her. Who are you? He rasped, his voice rough and raw like thunder breaking through smoke. Lila's jaw dropped. Who? What? Why are you naked? He blinked, confused by her tone. Around them, the other wolves whimpered and backed away. The air crackled with tension, with something electric. His eyes flickered again, golden light flaring. He took a step forward and the little boy hid behind her legs. I asked. He broke off, his expression twisting. He clutched his head, growling low, pain rippling through his body. No, not now. Lila stared as he fell to his knees, veins darkening under his skin. He looked like he was fighting something inside him. The gold in his eyes flickered wildly. Then his breathing slowed. He looked up again, calm. What the hell just happened? Lila whispered. He stared at her like she was the only thing in the world. His voice was quieter now, almost awed. It stopped, he said. What stopped? The pain. Then his knees buckled and he collapsed face first into the dirt. Lila blinked down at the unconscious stranger. Well, that's great. Save a kid, knock out a naked man. Perfect night, Lila. The boy sniffled. Is he dead? I hope not. He's too pretty to be dead. She dropped her frying pan and crouched beside the man. His skin was burning hot like fire under his flesh. She didn't notice the faint glow that sparked where her fingers brushed his arm. Hey, mister, you alive? His eyes fluttered open again, gold meeting brown. The connection hit her like a punch. For a second her heart forgot how to beat. He whispered one word. Mate. What? She frowned. No, I'm not, whatever that is. He smiled faintly before blacking out again. By morning the police had cleared the carnival. Lila sat on the curb, shivering under a blanket. No one could explain the attack. No wolves were found, no tracks, no evidence. Just chaos. But the image of that man wouldn't leave her mind. The way he looked at her like she was air. She should have gone home. But instead, when the paramedics loaded him into an ambulance, she followed. The next time he woke, it was in a dark, luxurious room with wooden walls and heavy curtains. He sat up fast, his body tensed. Then his hand flew to his chest. The pain was gone. For the first time in years it was quiet. Then he remembered her. The girl with the frying pan. Draven Alpha of the Shadow Fong Pack swung his legs off the bed, his mind racing. He needed to find her. The human. His mate. But that was impossible. The moon goddess wouldn't curse him like that. Would she? He stormed out of his room, ignoring the startled guards. Where is she? Who, Alpha? The girl. Girl, sir. He growled. The human who was brought in last night. She saved me. Where is she? The guard hesitated. She's in the kitchen, sir. Eating pancakes. Draven blinked. She's... what? Lila looked up as he entered the kitchen. He filled the doorway, tall, scarred, intense. His golden eyes softened when they found her. She swallowed, suddenly aware of how small she felt compared to him. You again, she said. You're alive. I should be dead, he said simply. But when you touched me, the curse stopped. She laughed nervously. Curse? Okay, we're just jumping into weird now. I'm serious, he said, voice low. Every night my wolf tries to kill me. I lose control. But when I saw you, it stopped. Completely. She frowned. And you think that has something to do with me? Yes. Well, newsflash, I'm not magic. I can't even keep a cactus alive. He stepped closer. The heat between them was sudden, almost alive. You're not just anyone, Lila. She blinked. You know my name? I heard someone say it last night, he said. It suits you. Yeah, well, you're creepy and still shirtless. Get some clothes before you start prophesying my destiny. A slow smirk curved his lips. You're brave for a human. I'm stupid, she muttered. Big difference. Then he stopped smiling. I'm serious. I think you're my mate. She stared. You're what? My mate. The one the moon goddess chose for me. Lila stood. Nope. I'm out. He blocked her path, his tone soft but urgent. Please. Just listen. I'm cursed, Lila. If you leave, I'll... He didn't finish. His body tensed, eyes flashing gold again. He gritted his teeth. No, not again. She panicked. Hey, breathe. Don't you dare die on my floor. He fell to his knees, trembling violently. She knelt beside him, gripping his hand without thinking. The moment she touched him, the trembling stopped. Silence filled the room. She gasped. Oh my God. Draven looked up slowly, sweat dripping down his temple. His voice was hoarse. See? Only you. Lila yanked her hand back. That's insane. Maybe. But it's real. Later that night, Lila sat alone on the balcony of the guest room they'd given her. The forest below was silver under the moonlight. She should have been terrified. She should have run far away. But something about him, about the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, it made her chest ache. A knock came at her door. She turned. Draven stood there, wearing a black shirt this time, though his wild hair and dangerous energy made him look no less intimidating. I can't sleep, he admitted. She raised a brow. And you think I'm a lullaby? He smiled faintly. Maybe. There was silence. Heavy but comfortable. You shouldn't get close to me, he said finally. My curse isn't gone. If I lose control again, I'll hit you with a frying pan, she said softly. He laughed. The sound was low and rough, like he hadn't done it in years. You really are something. And you really are cursed. His smile faded. I am. She stood and walked closer, her voice quiet. Then maybe you shouldn't face it alone. He stared at her as if trying to memorize her face. You don't understand what you're saying. Neither do you, she said. But I'm saying it anyway. The moonlight touched their faces as they stood there, two broken souls bound by something neither of them understood. And for the first time in his life, Alpha Draven's wolf didn't fight. It purred. The sound of shattering glass broke the quiet night. Lila spun around, eyes wide. Draven wasn't moving. His face was pale, his breathing sharp, like something was clawing him from inside. Draven, she said carefully. He didn't answer. Then his eyes snapped open, gold, wild, dangerous. The balcony lights flickered. The air grew thick like the world was holding its breath. Get out, he growled. His voice wasn't human anymore. Lila's heart thudded. Draven, it's me. Run. Before she could move, his body convulsed. His bones cracked, his hands hit the floor, claws tearing through his skin. The sound was wet and sickening. She gasped as fur spread up his arms. His growl deepened until it wasn't a voice at all. Oh God, she whispered. He was shifting right in front of her. The massive black wolf from the carnival now stood in her small guest room, chest heaving, eyes burning gold. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Draven, she whispered, her voice trembling. You can control it. He snarled, snapping his jaws inches from her. She flinched but didn't run. Something deep in her gut told her to stay still. Slowly she raised her hand. Please, she whispered. Don't let it win. For a second his body stilled. His ears twitched. She took a step forward. That's it. You're still in there. You know me. He let out a broken whine. Lila reached him trembling and touched his fur. It burned under her palm like fire trapped in flesh. He was shaking, fighting himself. His breathing hitched, then he leaned into her touch. The moment her skin met his fur, the gold in his eyes dimmed, turning softer, human again. His massive form trembled, shrinking, shifting back until he collapsed naked at her feet, panting. Lila grabbed a blanket from the bed and threw it over him, tears filling her eyes. You scared the hell out of me, she whispered. He coughed, his voice hoarse. You stopped it again. What is happening to you? He looked up, pain in his eyes. The curse doesn't want you near me. It's trying to kill me from the inside. Then why isn't it working? Because you're fighting it, he said. Every time you touch me, it weakens. Lila frowned, shaking her head. That makes no sense. He smiled faintly. Neither does fate. The next morning the pack was restless. Word had spread, the Alpha's curse had returned. But no one knew about the human girl who could stop it. Lila followed Draven through the woods, trying to keep up with his long strides. You don't have to follow me, he said without looking back. You almost turned into a wolf in my face last night. I'm not letting you go off alone. He smirked. You're stubborn. And you're cursed, she snapped. So we both have issues. He chuckled under his breath. You have no idea. They reached a clearing, old stones moss-covered, the air cold and thick with magic. What is this place? The ruins of the moon altar, Draven said quietly. Where the curse began. Lila crossed her arms. You're gonna tell me everything, right? No more half-stories or dramatic stares. He glanced at her, amused. You talk too much. Yeah, well, silence isn't helping your problems either. He sighed. Fine. 10 years ago my pack betrayed the moon goddess. We hunted another Alpha's mate. She cursed me. Every night I lose control, my wolf turns against me. It's killed half my healers. Lila stared. That's horrible. It's punishment, he said simply. And it won't stop until I die, or find my true mate. Which you think is me. I don't think. I know. Lila rolled her eyes. You've known me for 2 days. He stepped closer, voice low. And yet I've never felt peace until you touched me. Her heart stumbled. That's not fair. Neither is fate. Before she could respond, a howl split the air, loud and close. Draven stiffened. They found us, he said. Who? Bloodfang rogues. They want my head. Lila blinked. Great. And we're just standing here. He grabbed her hand. Run. They tore through the woods, branches whipping past. She could hear them, heavy footsteps, snarls, the smell of blood. Keep running, he barked. I can't, she panted. I skipped gym for years. Suddenly something slammed into Draven. A massive gray wolf. He hit the ground hard. Draven, she screamed. The wolf lunged again, but Draven shifted mid-roll, his black form colliding with it in a blur of claws and teeth. The sound of growling and bone snapping filled the air. Lila stumbled back, terrified. The wolves were a storm of fury, blood spraying across the dirt. Draven. Then another rogue appeared behind her. Prind. The human. She froze. Before she could scream, the wolf lunged and stopped mid-air. A blur of black fur intercepted it, slamming it into a tree so hard the bark cracked. Draven's voice thundered in her head, not spoken but inside her mind. Don't. She gasped. You can talk in my head? Mate bond. His mental voice was deep, rough, possessive. You're mine now. The words made her heart trip. When it was over, the clearing was silent. The rogues lay broken on the ground. Draven stood over them, breathing hard, blood streaking his jaw. He turned to her slowly, his eyes glowing faintly. Are you hurt? She shook her head. I'm fine. He walked closer, wiping blood from his mouth. His hand lifted to her cheek, gently brushing dirt away. You're shaking. You just killed 2 wolves in front of me, she said weakly. Of course I'm shaking. He hesitated. You shouldn't see this side of me. Too late, she whispered. You already showed it. Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, fear, something deeper. I'll always protect you, he said finally. Even from myself. Later that night the storm came. Rain slammed against the pack house windows as thunder rolled. Lila sat by the fire trying to process everything. Draven entered, towel draped over his neck. He looked exhausted but alive. You should rest, he said. Every time I close my eyes I see wolves fighting. Then stay awake with me. She looked up at him, warmth in her chest she didn't want to admit. You're impossible. He smiled faintly. You're the only one who can touch me without pain. That makes you impossible too. Silence. Just the fire crackling. Then without thinking he sat beside her. Their shoulders brushed. The heat between them was dizzying. Why me? She whispered. Out of everyone in the world? He looked at her like she was a miracle. Because when I look at you my wolf is quiet. Do you know what that means? He swallowed. What? It means I'm finally free. She stared at him. You're not free yet. But maybe we can fix that. He chuckled softly. You say that like you're not terrified. I am, she said. But I'm still here. His gaze softened. That's what makes you dangerous. Thunder boomed again. He flinched slightly, hand gripping his chest. She grabbed his arm without thinking, and instantly his breathing steadied. See, she said. Maybe you just needed someone stubborn enough to hold on. He smiled, not the cruel smirk of an alpha but something real. Maybe I did. The firelight glowed around them, the storm raging outside, but in that moment, everything else faded. For the first time they both felt something they didn't understand. A pull stronger than fear, deeper than reason. Something marked by fate. And far away in the forest's dark heart, something else stirred, watching, waiting. The curse wasn't finished yet. The night after the explosion, chaos ruled the pack lands. Smoke still curled from the ruins of the eastern watchtower. People whispered in corners, afraid to speak too loudly, afraid that whatever darkness had come for them wasn't finished yet. But the alpha, Damien, was nowhere to be seen. Lila woke up in the pack hospital, her arm bandaged and her throat dry. She blinked through the haze of medicine and the first thing she saw was him, standing at the window, shirt torn, his hand covered in blood that wasn't his. His eyes were hollow, distant, lost somewhere in a storm she couldn't see. You're awake. His voice was low, hoarse, like gravel dragged over stone. He tried to sit up. What happened? He turned slowly, his jaw tight. The curse is spreading. And it's my fault. The words fell like lead between them. She stared at him, heart pounding. You keep saying that, what curse? He looked at her for a long time before answering. Every full moon I lose control. Not like other wolves. I destroy everything near me. People die. His hand shook slightly. And now after last night it's getting worse. I can feel it inside me. Like something hungry. Lila swallowed hard. And you think I can fix that? His gaze locked with hers. I don't think I know. Later that night Lila found herself in Damien's office. The smell of smoke and whiskey lingered in the air. Maps, books and old relics covered the desk. A single candle flickered, throwing shadows across his face. He looked like a man haunted by too many memories. I did some digging, he said, flipping open a leather-bound book. There's an old prophecy. About a cursed alpha bound by rage and the moonlight. The curse can only be broken by blood, by his true mate's mark. She frowned. So what, I bite you and everything's fine? He gave a short, humorless laugh. If it were that simple I'd have begged you already. He slid the book toward her. The page showed an ancient drawing. Two wolves, one wrapped in fire, the other in light, locked in a blood circle. Her stomach twisted. And you're sure I'm the one? I didn't believe it at first, he said, eyes softening. But when you touched me yesterday, the curse stopped. For the first time in years the voices went silent. Lila froze. Voices? He nodded. They whisper every night. The ones I've killed. The curse feeds on guilt, on anger. But when you're near, he exhaled, running a hand through his hair, it's quiet. She looked down at the page again, the firelight dancing over her fingers. So what now? We find the origin of the curse. And we end it before it consumes the pack. The following morning Lila was on the training field watching warriors spar. She didn't belong here, she was a healer, not a fighter. But something about Damien's energy pulled her closer. He was out there, shirtless, his movements sharp and lethal, every muscle moving like poetry written in blood and instinct. She told herself she wasn't staring, but her eyes betrayed her. He caught her gaze mid-fight and his lips curved into a half-smirk. Her stomach flipped. She turned away quickly, pretending to watch the others, but the warmth on her cheeks gave her away. Suddenly, a shrill scream broke the moment. Everyone froze. A soldier stumbled into the field, blood staining his chest. Alpha. The rogues, they're back. They're coming from the north. Damien's eyes turned silver in an instant. Get everyone inside. Lila, stay here. But she didn't. She ran after him. By the time she reached the northern border, chaos had already begun. Wolves clashed in a blur of fur and blood. The air was thick with the metallic scent of death. She ducked behind a fallen tree, heart pounding, searching for Damien. Then she saw him, fighting like a storm unleashed. Every strike was precise, every move brutal. But his eyes were no longer silver. They were black. Unnatural. The curse. Damien, she screamed, running toward him. He didn't hear her. He was lost in the curse, tearing through everything that moved. Friend or foe, it didn't matter. She dodged claws and teeth until she was close enough. Damien, stop. Please. He turned sharply, his claws raised, his face wild. For one terrible moment she thought he'd kill her. But when his eyes met hers, the black began to fade. His breathing slowed. The rage receded like a tide. Lila, he whispered, his voice trembling. Get away from me. She reached for his face. Not until you let me in. And then something strange happened. The mark on her neck began to glow, faint at first, then bright like liquid moonlight. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. The curse's black veins receded from his skin. For the first time his wolf bowed its head, to her. Hours later, after the battle ended, Damien sat alone in his office again. His body was healing, but his mind was far from calm. Lila stood by the door, her hand bandaged but her eyes steady. You saved me, he said quietly. He shrugged. You would have done the same. He gave her a small smile. You don't know that. Silence stretched between them, comfortable this time. Then he whispered, every time I look at you the pain fades. But that scares me more than the curse itself. Why? Because if I lose you, his voice cracked, I'll never come back from it. Her heart twisted. She stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. Then don't lose me. He looked up, eyes dark and sincere. You don't understand, Lila. You already own me. And just like that, the bond sealed deeper. Two souls marked by chaos, fate, and something neither of them could name yet. The night after the battle felt endless. Rain washed away the blood but not the memories. The pack had survived, but barely. They whispered now. About the alpha who lost control, about the healer who calmed the beast with just a touch. Lila couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien's face when the curse consumed him. Wild, broken, and terrified. She found herself standing outside his office again, clutching a blanket she'd meant to bring him hours ago. Inside he sat at the desk, shirt half-buttoned, staring at an empty glass. The candlelight flickered over his features, painting him in shades of exhaustion. You should be resting, he said without looking up. So should you, she replied softly, walking closer. But you're still awake. He glanced at her, eyes softer now. I can't rest when the curse is still inside me. She placed the blanket on the chair beside him. You're not alone in this anymore. He looked away, jaw tight. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Lila frowned. Why? He stood, moving toward the window. Rain streaked down the glass like tears. Everyone who gets close to me ends up broken. My father, my brother, my pack. I can't let it happen to you. Damien, she said, stepping closer, you're not the curse. He turned, his eyes flashing silver for a moment. Aren't I? Every full moon I become something that kills without thought. That's not an alpha, it's a monster. She held his gaze. Then let me fight the monster with you. The air between them thickened. The candlelight flickered, catching the gold in her eyes. For a moment neither of them moved. Then Damien took a slow step forward, his voice barely a whisper. You don't know what you're asking for. Yes, I do, she said. I'm asking to help you carry the weight. He closed his eyes as if her words physically hurt him. If you stay, there's no going back. I already stayed, she whispered. The next morning brought no peace. Scouts returned with news. Rogue activity near the mountain border, but something else too. Symbols carved into the trees, glowing faintly red. The same symbols that haunted Damien's nightmares. They're from the blood circle, he said grimly, tracing one on a parchment. The cult that cursed my bloodline. Lila leaned over the table. You think they're back? I know they are, he said. And they want me dead or worse. She swallowed hard. Then we go after them. He looked up sharply. We. She crossed her arms. Don't even start. You'll need me. He smirked faintly. You're stubborn. Someone has to be. By dusk they rode into the forest with 3 warriors. The air was cold, the mist low. The deeper they went, the quieter it became, until even the crickets fell silent. Damien signaled for them to stop. His wolf senses picked up movement. Too fast, too quiet. They're watching us. Before anyone could respond, arrows rained down from the trees. One struck a warrior in the shoulder. Another grazed Lila's arm. She yelped, stumbling. Damien's eyes flashed silver as he shifted partially, claws tearing through his gloves. Stay behind me, he roared. A dozen figures emerged from the shadows, cloaked in crimson. Their eyes glowed faintly red. The blood circle. The leader stepped forward, a woman with white hair and eyes like blood. Alpha Damien, she hissed. Your time ends tonight. Damien bared his teeth. You'll have to try harder. The battle exploded into chaos. Wolves clashed with cultists, steel met Fong. Lila ducked under a swing, clutching her injured arm, but refused to retreat. She grabbed a fallen dagger and plunged it into the thigh of a cloaked figure coming for Damien. He turned, shock flickering across his face. I told you to stay back. And I told you I'm not leaving you, she shouted, slicing through another attacker. Then everything changed. The white-haired woman raised her hands, chanting. Red energy crackled through the air. Damien froze mid-step, pain shooting through his body as black veins crawled across his skin. Damien! Lila screamed, running toward him. But an invisible force threw her back. She hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. The cult leader sneered. You think you can break the curse, little healer? You are part of it. Lila's heart pounded. What are you talking about? The bond that ties you to him, the woman said, voice echoing. It was forged by the curse itself. Your blood is its key. Lila's breath caught. No, that's not possible. Damien fell to his knees, claws digging into the dirt. His veins glowed black, the curse taking over faster than ever. Lila, oh run, he gasped. Tears filled her eyes. No. She crawled toward him, ignoring the pain. You're not dying like this. Her mark flared bright again, burning her skin. She pressed her hand to his chest. Come back to me. Light exploded between them, blinding, raw, powerful. The curse screamed, a sound that wasn't human. The cultists staggered back, shielding their faces. When the light faded, Damien was breathing again. The black veins were gone. The white-haired woman stumbled, bleeding from her nose. This isn't over, she hissed before vanishing into the smoke. When silence returned, Damien collapsed into her arms. His voice was weak, trembling. You saved me again. Lila shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Stop giving me reasons to. He managed a tired smile. You were born for this. She looked at him, confused. What do you mean? He brushed a strand of hair from her face. You're not just my healer, Lila. You're the other half of the curse. Her breath caught. What? He nodded slowly. Your blood, your light. You were meant to destroy me or save me. And which one will I choose? She whispered. He smiled faintly, his hand tightening around hers. You already did. The world felt heavier after that night. Every whisper of the wind carried the echo of what the Blood Circle's leader said. You are part of the curse. Those words haunted Lila, wrapping around her mind like thorns she couldn't untangle. The pack was still healing from the battle. Broken walls, burnt fields, exhausted warriors. But what unsettled everyone most wasn't the damage. It was their alpha. Damien hadn't spoken much since the fight. He spent hours in the woods, alone, always returning with blood on his hands that wasn't his. Lila found him there one night, kneeling by the river. His reflection shimmered in the moonlight, half man, half monster. You shouldn't be here, he said without turning around. I couldn't sleep, she replied softly, stepping closer. And neither could you. He dipped his hands into the water, watching the red swirl away. Every night I hear her voice, he muttered. The woman from the blood circle. She said you were part of the curse. That can't be true. Lila's throat tightened. What if it is? He turned sharply, eyes flashing silver. Don't say that. She flinched but stood her ground. Damien, if it's true, if I was meant to end you, then we have to face it. He rose to his full height, towering over her, his voice trembling with fury and fear. I won't let fate decide that. I won't let anything take you from me. Damien. No. His roar echoed through the trees. Birds scattered into the night. You think I don't feel it? Every time you're near, the curse burns quieter but deeper. It's like it's waiting, for the moment I lose control completely. She stared up at him, tears glistening. Then we fight it together. He shook his head, stepping back. You don't understand. If the prophecy is true, the only way to end it is through blood. Your blood. Silence fell between them. The river murmured softly, the only sound brave enough to move. Finally, Lila whispered, then we'll find another way. He turned away, but his voice was broken. There's never another way with curses like mine. The next morning, the pack gathered in the hall. Damien stood before them, a shadow of the alpha they once knew, tired, haunted, and colder than before. We're moving north, he announced. To the ruins of Dravik Keep. That's where the curse began. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Lila stood beside him, trying to read his face, but he avoided her eyes. After the meeting, she followed him outside. You're not telling them everything, she said. He stopped. Because they don't need to know. Don't treat me like one of your soldiers, she snapped. If you're hiding something, tell me. He turned, eyes flashing with that same turmoil. If we find what I think we'll find at Dravik Keep, you'll wish you never met me. She stepped closer. That's not your choice to make. He looked at her, then really looked at her. And for a brief moment the walls around him cracked. You make me want things I shouldn't want. Her voice trembled. Like what? Peace, he said. And a future. 2 days later they reached Dravik Keep. The ruins were buried under vines and fog, their towers crumbling like old bones. The air felt heavy, tainted with old magic. Every step they took stirred whispers from the shadows. This place reeks of death, muttered one of the warriors. Damien ignored him, pushing open the gates. Inside, strange runes glowed faintly along the walls, symbols identical to those carved into the trees by the blood circle. Lila traced one with her fingers. It pulsed under her touch. They're alive, she whispered. Don't touch them, Damien warned, grabbing her wrist. But it was too late. The runes flared, spreading light across the room. The ground shook, and suddenly they weren't alone. A figure emerged from the darkness, tall, cloaked, and old. His eyes glowed like embers. Alpha Damien, he rasped. The cursed heir. Damien bared his teeth. Who are you? I am what's left of your bloodline's sin, the figure said. The first Alpha who bargained with the moon goddess, and paid with his soul. Lila's eyes widened. The original Alpha? The man nodded slowly. Your curse was born here, forged in betrayal. The goddess gave power to protect the pack, but he used it to destroy. His gaze shifted to Lila. And you, child, carry the last of her light. Damien's hand tightened around her. What do you mean? The old Alpha smiled faintly. You are the balance, the cure and the curse, born to either purify or consume his bloodline. When your bond is complete, the goddess will decide which. Lila's breath caught. Complete? You mean, mating? The spirit nodded. When the mark seals under the moon, fate will choose. Love will save, or destroy, you both. The ground trembled again. The spirit began to fade, his voice echoing. The blood circle seeks to force the choice. Find them before the next full moon, or the curse will claim you both. And then he was gone. Damien stood frozen, his hand still gripping hers. So that's it, he whispered. It all comes down to us. Lila looked up at him, her pulse racing. Then we decide our fate before they do. He turned to her, his voice barely a growl. If we do this, if we bond, I might lose control forever. She stepped closer, eyes locked with his. Then I'll pull you back every time. He shook his head. You don't know what you're asking for. I do, she said softly. I'm asking to survive this with you. His chest rose and fell sharply. And if fate wants your blood? She smiled sadly. Then it'll have to fight me for it. He stared at her for a long moment, then finally whispered, You drive me insane. Her lips curved. Good. Maybe that's how I'll save you. And for the first time the cursed alpha laughed, broken, beautiful, and utterly human. The next full moon was only 3 nights away. The air in the packlands had grown tense and restless, as if the forest itself could sense what was coming. The blood circle hadn't attacked again, but their silence was worse. It meant they were planning something. Lila hadn't seen Damien since their return from Dravik Keep. He'd locked himself in the Alpha's chambers, refusing anyone entry. Rumors spread quickly. Some said he was losing control, others whispered he was preparing for war. But Lila knew better. He was fighting the curse again. Alone. She couldn't take it anymore. As night fell, she pushed past the guards and stormed into his chambers. The air inside was thick with power, humming like static. Damien stood by the window, shirtless, his back marked with glowing veins that pulsed with black energy. Damien, she called out. He didn't turn. You shouldn't be here. You said that before, she snapped, walking closer. And I didn't listen then either. His voice was strained, almost inhuman. It's different this time. The curse is stronger. I can't hold it back much longer. She reached for him, her hand trembling. Then let me help. He spun around suddenly, eyes black as night, fangs visible. You can't, he roared. Every time you get close it feeds off your light. It wants you. Lila froze. Then it'll have to fight me for it. She took another step forward, refusing to back down. His chest heaved, claws digging into his palms as he fought for control. Lila, please, he growled, voice breaking. I don't want to hurt you. You won't, she whispered, cupping his face. Because you know me. For a heartbeat, silence. Then his breathing slowed. The black faded slightly from his eyes. He leaned his forehead against hers, trembling. You're insane, he murmured. Maybe, she said softly. But I'm yours. And then the bond pulsed again, fierce, wild, alive. The mark on her neck flared and Damien gasped, clutching his chest. It's reacting, he hissed. To what? She asked. To us, he said, his voice low, awed. The bond's completing itself. Before she could respond, a loud crash shook the ground. The door burst open. One of the guards stumbled in, bloodied and pale. Alpha. The blood circle. They've breached the border. Damien's eyes turned silver in an instant. Sound the alarm. He turned to Lila. Stay here. Like hell I will, she shot back. He didn't have time to argue. The howls of his warriors echoed through the night. The war had begun. The battlefield was chaos. Fire lit the dark sky, and the forest was filled with screams and the scent of blood. Lila fought beside the healers, tending to the wounded, but her eyes kept searching for Damien. She found him near the northern ridge, tearing through the enemy like a storm. Every movement was deadly, but his power was spiraling. Each strike burned blacker than the last. The curse was rising again. Damien, she screamed, running toward him. He didn't hear her. His claws ripped through another cultist, eyes wild, fangs bared. He was losing himself. Lila grabbed his arm mid-swing. Damien, stop. It's me. He turned, snarling. For a split second, his claws hovered at her throat. But when her mark glowed, his eyes flickered silver again. He stumbled back, panting. Lila. I can't. You can, she said firmly. You always can. But before he could answer, the white-haired woman appeared again, the blood circle leader. Touching, she sneered. But love won't save him. She raised her hand and a bolt of red energy shot toward them. Damien jumped in front of Lila, taking the hit full force. He collapsed to his knees, the curse screaming through his veins. Lila caught him, tears streaming down her face. No. Stay with me. The woman laughed. Foolish girl. You can't heal a curse born from love's betrayal. Lila glared up, fury burning through her grief. Watch me. She placed her hands on Damien's chest, her mark blazing brighter than ever. The light spread through him, burning the curse away inch by inch. The cult leader screamed as the light reached her too, searing through the darkness she wielded. No, she howled before disintegrating into ash. The battle fell silent. Damien gasped, his body trembling. The black veins receded completely this time. His breathing steadied. Lila fell against him, exhausted but smiling through her tears. You're alive. He chuckled weakly. You sound disappointed. Maybe a little, she teased, her voice breaking. You scared me to death. He reached up, brushing her cheek. You brought me back. Their eyes met, and for the first time, no darkness lingered between them, only warmth. Lila, he said softly, you broke it. She blinked. The curse. He nodded slowly, wonder in his eyes. It's gone. Before she could process it, the moon above shifted, glowing blood red. The ground trembled again. A deep voice echoed through the air. Asterisk, the curse never ends, Alpha. It only changes. Sith. Lila froze. What was that? Damien's expression hardened. The goddess. Back in the pack house, Damien paced the floor. His strength had returned, but his mind was heavy. She said it doesn't end, he murmured. That means there's more to it. Lila sat on the bed, rubbing her temples. Maybe she meant the blood circle? He shook his head. No. She meant us. He turned to her. The curse bound my bloodline to hers. If it's broken for me, it might have passed to someone else. Her heart sank. Who? He met her gaze, his voice barely above a whisper. My brother. Lila's eyes widened. You have a brother? He nodded grimly. And if the curse found him, then this isn't over. The revelation about Damien's brother changed everything. The pack was still recovering from the battle, but the air buzzed with unease. Lila could feel it, the sense that the real war had only just begun. Damien hadn't spoken much since the goddess's warning. He trained longer, slept less, and every time Lila tried to reach him, he'd say the same thing. I have to find him. His brother Kieran. No one in the pack had ever heard of him. Even the elders claimed there was no record of a second-born Alpha. But when Lila asked Damien directly, his eyes darkened with something she hadn't seen before. Fear. Kieran was born under the blood moon, he told her one night as they stood on the balcony overlooking the dark forest. Our mother hid him because she knew what it meant. She said the moon marked him for darkness. The curse chose him first, but when she gave her life to protect me, it latched onto my blood instead. Lila frowned. So, if the curse is gone from you, it's found him, Damien finished grimly. And if that's true, he's not the same person anymore. A chilling howl echoed through the night, long and broken. Lila's heart clenched. Damien's eyes flashed silver. He's here. By dawn, the pack was on high alert. Scouts reported strange movements at the eastern border, wolves with eyes that glowed crimson moving like shadows. Damien ordered everyone to the stronghold, but he refused to stay behind. Lila followed him despite his protests. The forest was eerily silent when they reached the edge. No birds, no wind, just a heavy stillness. Then a figure stepped out from the mist. He looked like Damien, only leaner, colder. His hair was dark as ash, his eyes burning red. A cruel smirk played on his lips. Hello, brother. Damien tensed. Kieran. You found me, Kieran said mockingly. Or maybe I found you. His gaze flicked to Lila. And you brought a toy. Lila bristled. Watch your mouth. Kieran chuckled darkly. Fiery. I see why the curse liked you. Damien stepped between them, his voice sharp. You don't touch her. Oh, I wouldn't dare, Kieran said, circling them slowly. The mark on her, it sings. The bond between you is powerful. Dangerous. It's the reason the curse moved to me, you know. Damien frowned. What are you talking about? Kieran's smile faded. The goddess didn't punish us for power, brother. He punished us for love. The moment you defied fate and chose her, the curse abandoned you and claimed me instead. Lila's breath hitched. That's not fair. Fair. Kieran laughed bitterly. Nothing about this is fair. While you two play lovers, I hear her voice in my head every night. I feel her pain. I am her wrath now. His eyes glowed brighter. And I've come to finish what she started. Damien's claws extended. You'll have to go through me. Gladly. The ground shook as they clashed. Their roars echoed through the forest, power crackling with every strike. Kieran moved with unnatural speed, every blow laced with black magic. Damien countered fiercely, but he was fighting his own blood and losing ground. Lila ran forward, but a blast of energy threw her back. Kieran turned, sneering. "Stay out of it, little light. This is between brothers." She struggled to stand. "I don't care. You'll kill each other." Kieran's grin widened. "That's the point." Damien, bleeding but unbroken, launched forward and slammed Kieran into a tree. "You're not my enemy," he shouted. "You're my brother." Kieran spat blood, eyes glowing redder. "Then die for me, brother." He raised his hand, darkness swirling in his palm, until Lila stepped between them, arms outstretched. "Stop," she screamed. This isn't what she wanted. The goddess cursed love because it scared her, because love is stronger than her. Kieran hesitated. For a second the rage in his eyes flickered. "Stronger than a goddess?" he whispered. Lila nodded. "You feel it, don't you? You still have a heart, Kieran. You can fight it." Damien reached out weakly. "Listen to her." But the curse twisted again. Kieran screamed, clutching his chest as black veins spread down his arms. "I can't. It's too late." Lila grabbed his hand. "Then let me share it." A blinding light erupted from her mark, engulfing all three of them. The forest trembled as power collided, light and darkness merging, tearing the air apart. When the glow faded, Lila was on her knees, gasping. Damien lay beside her, unconscious. Kieran stood before them, trembling, his red eyes dimmed. He looked at his hands, horrified. "What have you done?" "I gave you part of my mark," Lila panted. "Now the curse is shared. You're not alone in it anymore." Kieran stared at her, then laughed bitterly. "You're insane." "Probably," she muttered. He looked at his brother, then back at her. "You risked everything, for me?" "Not for you," she said softly. "For him." Kieran froze. Then without another word he vanished into the mist. When Damien woke hours later, Lila was sitting beside him, her body bruised and tired. He reached for her hand. "What happened?" "You fought your brother," she whispered. "And I stopped you both." He frowned. "Stopped us? How?" "I gave him part of my mark." His eyes widened. "You what?" "It was the only way," she said. "Now he's tied to us. I don't think he'll attack again, at least not yet." Damien exhaled shakily. "You risked your life, Lila. Again." She smiled weakly. "It's kind of my thing now." He chuckled despite himself, then grew serious. "Lila, the mark you gave him, it means our bond's weaker now." "I know," she said quietly. "But we're still connected." He cupped her face gently. "Always." Outside, thunder rumbled across the sky. The blood moon rose again, brighter this time. Somewhere in the forest, Kieran stood beneath it, his new mark glowing faintly. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "If love broke the curse once, maybe it can end it for good." And with that he disappeared into the night, leaving only the echo of his howl behind. The forest had been quiet for days, too quiet. The battle with Kieran had left the pack shaken, and even the wind seemed to carry whispers of unease. Lila could sense it. The balance was shifting again. Damien hadn't been the same since that night. He trained harder, barely slept, and spent long hours staring out into the woods as if expecting something, or someone. Every time Lila tried to reach him, he'd smile and say, "I'm fine." But his eyes said otherwise. Lila knew he wasn't just worried about the pack. He was worried about Kieran. The bond that tied them through her mark had created something new, something none of them understood. Sometimes when Lila closed her eyes, she could feel another heartbeat, slow, distant, and filled with pain. And she knew it was his. That night, the sky turned crimson again. The blood moon had returned, earlier than expected. The mark on Lila's neck pulsed, burning like fire. She gasped and clutched it. Damien rushed to her side. "Lila, what is it?" She could barely breathe. "He's calling me." Before Damien could stop her, she collapsed into his arms, her body trembling. Her vision blurred as whispers filled her head. "Help me. Lila. Please." She opened her eyes and saw something that wasn't the pack house. She stood in a dark, misty forest where the trees bled red light. And there on his knees was Kieran. He looked broken, blood running down his face, his hands shaking. "You shouldn't have come," he said weakly. Lila turned, startled. "Kieran? Where are we?" He looked up, eyes full of torment. "Between worlds. The curse dragged me here." Her heart ached. "Why?" "Because it's not done with us," he said. "You shared your mark, remember? It's trying to pull you in too." Before she could respond, shadows began to rise around them, snarling, faceless creatures made of smoke. They lunged toward her, but Kieran roared, his aura exploding outward, shattering them. He fell to one knee, gasping. "Go back before it takes you too." Lila shook her head. "Not without you. You can't save me," he growled. "Not this time." She knelt beside him and touched his face. "You're Damien's brother. That means you're mine too. I'm not leaving you here." For the first time his expression softened. "You really are stubborn." She smiled faintly. "You have no idea." Suddenly the world around them began to shake. A voice boomed from the shadows, low and ancient. "The curse feeds on the bond you share. The more you fight it, the stronger it becomes." Kieran's face paled. "It's the goddess." The voice grew louder. "Love broke the curse once. Now it shall destroy you both." Lila felt herself being pulled backward, her body fading. "Kieran," she screamed. He caught her hand, holding on tight. "Tell Damien. I'll find a way back." Then everything went dark. Lila woke up gasping, Damien holding her tightly. "Lila, talk to me. What happened?" Tears streamed down her face. "He's trapped, Damien. The curse has him." Damien froze. "Where?" "In some kind of shadow realm. He saved me, but he's still there." He clenched his jaw, fury and guilt flashing in his eyes. "I'm going after him." "You can't," she said quickly. "The curse." "I don't care." His voice broke. "He's my brother, Lila. I left him once. I won't do it again." She gripped his arm. "Then you're not going alone." He looked at her, torn. "If you come, it could kill you." She met his gaze without flinching. "Then we'll die together." The ritual circle was drawn by moonlight. Runes carved into the dirt glowed faintly as Damien stood in the center, shirtless, his mark pulsing with silver light. Lila joined him, their hands linked. The old witch from the northern hills had warned them. Once the gate opens, it cannot close until the balance is restored. Blood must meet blood. Bond must face bond. Damien squeezed her hand. "Ready?" Lila nodded. "Let's bring him home." They chanted the spell together. The ground trembled, the air thick with power. The moonlight bent, forming a portal of swirling crimson mist. Damien pulled her close. "Stay with me no matter what happens." And they jumped. They landed in the same forest Lila had seen before. The red light bleeding through the trees, the air heavy with despair. Kieran stood ahead, surrounded by chains of shadow, his eyes half open. He looked at them in disbelief. "You idiots actually came." "Of course we did," Damien said, stepping forward. "You're my brother." Kieran laughed weakly. "You shouldn't have. The curse feeds on emotion. The more you care, the stronger it gets." "Then we'll break it again," Lila said firmly. "Together." Kieran stared at her, then smiled faintly. "You sound like her." "Like who?" she asked. "Our mother," he said quietly. "She said the same thing before she died." The shadows tightened around him suddenly, forcing him to his knees. The voice of the goddess filled the air again, echoing through their bones. "You think love is strength, but it is weakness. Pain. You will drown in it." Damien roared in defiance, his silver aura blazing. "Then let me drown." The ground split open. Chains of darkness shot toward him, wrapping around his body, but Lila grabbed his arm, channeling her light through him. The chains burned away with a hiss. Together they reached Kieran. Lila touched the mark on his neck and light flooded through him, spreading from her hand into his heart. Kieran gasped, his eyes flickering from red to silver. "It's working." The goddess screamed, a sound of fury and despair. "You cannot defy me." Lila's voice rose above the chaos. "We already did." With one final pulse of light, the forest shattered. The chains broke. The blood moon cracked in the sky. And in the silence that followed, the curse screamed, and then disappeared. When the dust settled, Kieran lay unconscious, Damien holding him close. He's breathing, Damien whispered, his voice breaking. He's alive. Lila smiled through her tears. Then it's finally over. But somewhere deep in the shadows, unseen and waiting, a pair of glowing red eyes opened again. And a voice whispered softly, almost lovingly. It's never truly over. The morning after the curse shattered, the world looked too peaceful to be real. The forest outside the pack's boundary swayed gently in the wind, birds chirping like they hadn't just witnessed hell tear through their skies the night before. The blood moon had faded to silver, and for the first time in what felt like years, the air didn't taste like fear. But Lila couldn't rest. Not yet. Kieran still hadn't woken up. He lay on the pack's infirmary bed, pale as the sheets beneath him. His heartbeat was steady but distant, like he was trapped halfway between two worlds. Damien hadn't left his side since they returned. He sat in silence, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on his brother. You need to rest, Lila said softly, setting a bowl of water on the table. Damien shook his head. Not until he opens his eyes. You've been saying that for 2 days. I mean it. His voice cracked. Lila sighed and sat beside him. The moonlight filtered through the window, catching the silver strands in Damien's hair. The curse nearly tore him apart, she whispered. But he's still fighting. That has to mean something. Damien finally looked at her. There was exhaustion in his gaze but also something deeper, fear. What if he's not fighting? What if he's gone, Lila? What if I killed him when I marked you? She reached for his hand. You didn't kill him, Damien. You saved him. He didn't answer, but he didn't pull away either. For a long moment, the room was quiet except for the steady rhythm of Kieran's heartbeat. Then Kieran stirred. It was subtle at first, a twitch of his fingers, a flutter of his eyelids. But when his eyes finally opened, silver and clear, Damien's breath caught. Kieran. Kieran blinked, squinting at the light. Why do I feel like I got run over by a mountain? Damien laughed, an unsteady, broken laugh. Because you basically did. Kieran groaned, pressing a hand to his chest. Remind me never to mess with ancient curses again. Lila smiled in relief. You're awake. He looked at her and frowned. Lila. His voice softened. You shouldn't have come for me. You're welcome, she said dryly. Next time I'll let you rot in the shadow realm. He chuckled weakly, then winced. Ouch. Still sassy. Guess the curse didn't kill your attitude. Guess not. Damien stood, his shoulders finally relaxing. You scared the hell out of us. Yeah, well, Kieran muttered, you two have been scaring me with all this gooey love energy. I could feel it even while I was half dead. Lila flushed. We weren't. Sure you weren't, Kieran teased, grinning for the first time in forever. Damien shook his head, unable to hide a small smile. You're impossible. Family trait, Kieran said, settling back into the pillows. So, the curse. It's really gone. Lila hesitated. We think so. He noticed the pause. You think so? Damien's jaw tightened. The goddess vanished when the moon cracked. But Lila saw something before we came back. Kieran's eyes narrowed. What kind of something? Eyes, she whispered. Red eyes. Watching us. The room fell silent. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. Kieran's easy grin faded. Then it's not over. That night, the pack gathered in the main hall to celebrate the supposed end of the curse. Music, laughter, and the smell of roasted meat filled the air. Wolves danced in human form, drinks clinking as old friends embraced. But Damien couldn't shake the unease in his chest. He stood by the window scanning the treeline. His instincts screamed at him that something was wrong. The peace felt too fragile. Lila walked up behind him, her hand brushing his arm. You're supposed to be celebrating. He didn't turn. It doesn't feel right. You're overthinking again. Maybe. His voice was low. But I've learned never to trust silence after chaos. Before she could respond, a howl pierced the night, long, sharp, and filled with pain. The music stopped. The laughter died. Every head turned toward the window. Another howl followed, this one closer. Then from the darkness, a wolf stumbled into the courtyard, bleeding, fur-torn, eyes wild. He collapsed at Damien's feet. Alpha, the wolf rasped, blood spilling from his mouth. They're coming. Who? Damien demanded, kneeling beside him. The wolf shuddered. The shadow pack, they're back. The hall erupted in panic. Wolves shifted, growls echoing through the air. Damien's eyes burned silver. Get everyone underground. Now. Lila's pulse raced. But I thought. They shouldn't exist, Kieran said, appearing in the doorway, pale but standing. The shadow pack was wiped out centuries ago. Apparently not, Damien said grimly. Outside, the forest began to move, figures emerging from the mist. Dozens of them, their eyes glowing red, their bodies flickering like smoke. Lila felt her mark flare again. Pain shot through her neck. Damien. He caught her as she staggered. Lila, what's happening? She gasped, clutching his shirt. They're not alive. They're possessed. The pack members began to retreat, but one of the shadow wolves leapt through the window, tackling a guard. Its claws sliced through flesh like fire. Get down. Damien roared, shifting mid-leap, his massive silver wolf form slamming into the creature. The hall exploded into chaos. Wolves fought shadows, growls and screams blending into a storm of violence. Lila tried to fight too, summoning the light within her, but the mark burned too hot, too bright. She screamed as visions flashed. Images of the goddess, the cracked moon, and a figure stepping out of the bloodlight. It wasn't the goddess. It was a man. Tall, cloaked in shadow, with red eyes that glowed like molten glass. His voice slithered through her mind. You broke her curse, little wolf. But you freed me. Lila's eyes flew open. She gasped, clutching her chest. Damien. He's here. But Damien was too busy tearing through enemies to hear her. Kieran shifted beside him, fighting like he'd never been injured. They moved in sync, two halves of the same storm. Still the shadow wolves kept coming. Then the hall doors burst open and there he stood, the man from Lila's vision. His presence sucked the air from the room. The fighting stopped. Even the shadows bowed to him. Damien growled, his wolf towering over everyone else. Who are you? The stranger smiled faintly. You may call me what your ancestors did. The Shadow King. Kieran stepped forward, fury flashing in his eyes. You were supposed to be dead. Death, the Shadow King said smoothly, is merely another doorway. His eyes landed on Lila. And you opened it for me. Lila stumbled back. What do you mean? You shattered the goddess's seal, he said. Her curse was my prison. Now that she's gone, I am free. Damien shifted back into human form, fury burning in every muscle. If you touch her. The Shadow King raised a hand. The air rippled and Damien was thrown across the hall, slamming into the wall with a sickening thud. Lila screamed, rushing to him. Damien. He groaned but pushed himself up, blood running down his face. Lila, run. She shook her head, trembling. I won't leave you. Kieran shifted again, attacking the Shadow King, but the figure caught him midair and slammed him into the ground with inhuman strength. Foolish pups, the king hissed. You think love and courage can defeat what was born from darkness? Lila stood, light beginning to burn from her hands. Maybe not. But it's a good start. The Shadow King laughed and it sounded like thunder. Then come, little wolf. Let's see if your light can survive the night. And as the blood moon slowly began to rise again, the war for their souls reignited. The blood moon rose again that night, its crimson glow spilling across the battlefield like spilled wine. Shadows twisted around the trees, whispering ancient words of death. The air was thick, heavy with power and fear. The Shadow King stood in the center of the chaos, tall and unbothered, his cloak rippling like smoke. Around him, shadow wolves moved like a single living creature, dozens of glowing red eyes staring out from the dark. Across from him stood Damien, bloodied but unbroken, his silver eyes burning with fury. Beside him was Lila, her mark glowing so brightly it lit the ground beneath her. Kieran crouched behind them in wolf form, growling, waiting for the signal. This was it, the final stand. You don't have to do this, Lila said, her voice trembling but steady. This isn't your world anymore. The Shadow King tilted his head, almost amused. You think this world ever stopped being mine? I was here before your kind learned to shift. Before your moon learned to bleed. Damien's growl was low and dangerous. Then you should have stayed buried in the dark. The king smiled, his teeth too sharp, too perfect. Ah, the proud alpha. You sound just like your ancestor when I ripped his heart out. Damien lunged. The two forces collided like thunder. Damien's claws met shadow, light and darkness, clashing so violently that the ground cracked beneath them. Kieran joined in, slamming into one of the shadow wolves, ripping through the creature with his teeth. But every time one fell, two more emerged. Lila tried to help, summoning the light that burned in her veins. Her mark pulsed with pain, but she forced herself to stay upright. Come on, she whispered through gritted teeth. Just a little more. A beam of white fire shot from her hands, cutting through the air and striking the Shadow King in the chest. He staggered, surprised, but only for a moment. You think light can destroy shadow? He hissed. It only feeds it. He raised his hand and a black wave erupted from him, swallowing everything in its path. Trees fell, stone cracked, wolves screamed. The blast hit Lila square in the chest, sending her flying backward. "Lila!" Damien shouted, eyes wide with terror. She hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. Her vision blurred. Somewhere far away she could hear Damien fighting, roaring her name. She tried to move, but the darkness pressed down, whispering in her ear. "You were never meant to survive, little wolf. You were made to be the lock, not the key." "No," she whispered. "I am both." Her mark flared so brightly that the shadows recoiled. She screamed as light burst from her skin, wild, unstoppable. The symbol on her neck expanded, spreading across her body like veins of fire. Damien turned, shielding his eyes from the glare. "Lila, stop. You'll burn yourself out." But she didn't stop. She couldn't. The light was no longer hers to control. It was her. The Shadow King raised his arm to strike again, but this time the light caught him full in the chest. He screamed, his form cracking like glass. "Impossible," he roared. "You can't destroy me, I am the darkness." Lila rose to her feet, her voice steady even as her body trembled. "Then maybe it's time the dark learned to fear the light." She pressed her palms together and with one last cry unleashed everything. The world exploded. For a moment there was nothing. No sound, no air, just a blinding white that swallowed everything. Then came silence. When the light faded, the Shadow King was gone. The wolves who had followed him dissolved into mist. The moon, once red, turned soft and silver again. Lila collapsed. Damien ran to her, falling to his knees. "Lila. Hey, stay with me." Her eyelids fluttered. "Did we win?" He laughed, a broken sound. "Yeah. You did." "Good," she whispered. "Then I can rest now." "No," he said, shaking his head violently. "No resting. You promised me a future, remember? You can't leave me now." Kieran approached quietly, shifting back into human form. He knelt beside them, his face grim. "Damien." Her heart beat. "Don't say it." Damien's voice broke. "Don't you dare say it." Lila smiled faintly, lifting a trembling hand to Damien's cheek. "It's okay. I'm not gone. You marked me. I'll always be part of you." Tears streamed down his face. "That's not enough. It has to be." Her hand fell from his face and her eyes slowly closed. The world seemed to stop. Damien let out a roar so raw that it shook the forest. Wolves howled in mourning. The pack gathered in silence as their alpha cradled the body of his mate, the one who had saved them all. Kieran turned away, his jaw tight, tears glinting in his eyes. "She saved everyone," he whispered. But Damien didn't answer. He couldn't. His heart was gone with her. Weeks passed. The pack rebuilt, the curse gone at last. The skies cleared, the rivers ran pure, and the nightmares finally faded. But Damien never stopped visiting her grave. Every night he sat under the moonlight, talking to her as if she were still there. One night as he sat in silence he felt a breeze brush against his face. Soft, warm, almost familiar. He looked up and for a moment he swore he saw her standing there at the edge of the forest, smiling. "Lila," he whispered. The figure didn't answer. She only pressed her hand to her chest, where her mark had once glowed and then faded into light. Damien exhaled shakily, a small, bittersweet smile breaking through his grief. "I'll find you again. No matter how many lives it takes." From somewhere far away, a whisper answered him, soft and full of promise. "You already have my alpha." The wind carried her scent, wild roses and rain. The moon shone brighter than it had in centuries. And though she was gone, her bond lived on, in his blood, in his pack, and in every heartbeat that dared to love again after loss.